Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Luke, man, and today we're going to talk about the modes of the major scale. So what I did in that demo is I did a couple of different modes in A, so that you can see how you would stick to one mode and stay in the same position. But what I want to talk about today is the easiest way that you can start to apply the modes, which is going to be learning the A minor slash C major scale. I say slash because it's the exact same thing, and because he's a killer guitar player. And we're just going to be learning that key, understanding that key, and then moving the chords around it. And that's going to have the biggest impact on the overall sound and feel of the mode that you're playing. So, yeah, before we get into that, I should mention that I have a free course. It's called Alternate Picking Mastery. So if you've been having trouble with your alternate picking for a matter of years now, then you're probably doing something wrong. And I cover everything in that course. It's been tested with all my clients from my online guitar coaching school, premium guitar coaching. So, yeah. If you want to check that out, there's a link to it in the description. If you want to apply to work with me personally, then there's a link for that as well. All right, so let's just jump right into this lesson. So I'm going to go through the A minor scale. It's the scale that we're going to be referring to throughout the whole video today. So on the E and A string, we're going to be playing the 5th, 7th, and 8th fret. Looks like this. When we get to the D string, we'll play just the 5th and 7th fret, and then the G is going to be the 4th, 5th, and 7th fret. And on the B string, it's going to be the 5th, 6th, and 8th fret, and the E string is going to be the 5th, 7th, and 8th fret. So if you ever get confused, just know that for this scale, there's no sharps or flats. So if you just play A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then start over, it's going to work out just fine. Okay, I am going to be referring to this, the scale degrees of the scale through the perspective of a major scale, even though it could flip around if you perceive A to be your tonic or your 1. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that because it's too confusing, but first thing I want to do is just reel off the names of the modes. So if we go down the line, it's going to be Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. So it's a lot of names that could essentially mean absolutely nothing. I'm going to show you a little bit of all of them so you can get a taste for how they sound, and I'll talk about them too. So just briefly, Ionian, it's almost as if you've bitten into something that's too sweet. It's the major scale. It sounds annoyingly happy. I don't like it. Next is going to be the Dorian scale. We hear a lot of Santana, a lot of Pink Floyd using this scale. The big characteristic of this scale is the major 6 interval. I know that doesn't mean a lot to you right now, but watch when I play this. Suddenly you know what I'm talking about, right? Phrygian is the flamenco, very Spanishy sounding scale, very scary sounding scale. It's kind of famous for having a half step resolution, so it has kind of like an evil, very heavy metal sound. I like to put those trills in there because it really accentuates the evil in it. Okay. Lydian is like the superhero scale. Lots of superhero scores are using Lydian. Its characteristic is that it has a sharp 4 in the scale and only a sharp 4, no natural 4 or perfect 4th in the scale Lydian. It's going to be F in the key of A minor, or sorry, C major, and it sounds like this. Other people will also say, oh, it sounds like The Simpsons. So that's the Lydian scale. Mixolydian, I like to think of as the happy blues scale. You're going to hear it a lot in country. You might even hear some killer blues players from the 70s use it. Something that's really simple to do is kind of like use the minor third and play up to the major third. So it's gonna sound like this. Okay, so that's the Mixolydian scale, and next we're gonna have the Aeolian scale. So that's basically the exact same thing as the minor scale. Sounds very, Slash uses it all the time. It gets a lot of use in heavy metal, and it has kind of a really sad, somber tone to it. Okay, so it's like this. It's the Aeolian scale. And lastly, we got the Locrian scale. So nobody really likes the Locrian scale. It's a very unfriendly sounding mode. Its chord is the minor 7 flat 5 chord, which is very close to a fully diminished chord. And obviously it has unfriendly properties. So I'm going to play a little bit of that as well. So if you notice, it doesn't really resolve. That's kind of like what trips people out about soloing for 16 bars over Locrian, or an opportunity to play Locrian, is usually looking for a resolution and not finding one. So that's all the modes. I played them all in one spot. We're not going to talk about doing that today because it's just too difficult to explain. Like if you're barely piecing together, your hand from your ass, then you're gonna have a hard time playing all the different major scales in one spot. Okay, so let's just focus on one scale, the one that I went through in the beginning of the video, and talk about all the chords connected to that. So the most simple way to look at the modes is to look at our context, look at our backing. So when I say that, I mean either the bass note or the chord that's being played. So if the chord that's being played is a C major, you guessed it, it's Ionian, because it's the first one. So these are kind of like interconnected. So we got C major chord and Ionian as the tonic, or the one. So all we have to do is play our C, and then we play some like super happy, like swung stuff that's just too sweet and annoying. Okay, so it has kind of like a piratey, happy-go-lucky feel to it. Next thing we got to do, like if you want to play the Dorian scale, just play a D minor. Right? That's the 2 of the scale. It happens to be a minor mode, and so there's a minor chord that's built off of it, and it's D minor. So let's just play our silly little D minor chord. Okay, and so, yeah, in that case, I did jump up to the D minor pentatonic scale. I can do that. I've studied a lot, all right? But, like maybe you just stick to this little scale that we went through. Maybe you even know your D minor pentatonic down here. You can just mix those together. Okay? So, but I mean, to keep things not confusing, just remember you can play the first scale that we went over today in the video, and you're gonna sound like Dorian. Okay, if you really want to accentuate the Dorian sound, you're gonna play the B note specifically. It's gonna be the 7th fret of the E string, 4th fret of the G string, and boom, you got Dorian mode. Okay, now let's talk about Phrygian. So this is an E minor as our root. Super easy to play. And while that E minor rings out, we're going to focus on all the little half steps, B to C and E to F, and doing trills on them, particularly E, you know, because that's going to be the tonic. That's going to be where we resolve, even though we're playing the same scale. Okay, so that's the Phrygian mode. Now when we go to G, this is our Mixolydian mode. We want to focus on the major third of G, which is going to be a B note as well. There's going to be a major 6 in there as well, which is an E, and the major third, that's a big note as well for G Mixolydian, which is going to be B right here. So that's going to be your Mixolydian. And again, you can just stick to this one scale. You know, work on those major third relationships. That's going to make it come across. Next is Aeolian. Aeolian, you don't really have to worry about being too methodical. Just play the A minor scale. Bend perhaps from B to C, that's cool. Bend from G to A, that's cool. There's no one like you. There's no one like you, California! Right, so you're probably saying like, well, what are you doing a chord progression like that? Well, technically, according to my theory, when they play the A power chord, you're in Aeolian. When they play the F major, you're in Lydian. When they play the G power chord, you're in G Mixolydian. So, anyway, yeah, you can mess around with that. And then, like I said, Locrian, it's not that important that you like understand it on a deep level because it's such a gnarly freaking scale. One thing that might be useful is to get familiar with the minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. It's the same thing as a D minor 6 arpeggio. If I'm confusing the hell out of you, don't even worry about all that stuff, dude. Just, yeah, over the B minor 7 flat 5 chord, just play this A minor scale, and you'll have the sound of Locrian. Make sure to make Locrian your root. Again, I would focus on, make B your root. Again, I would focus on the trills, similar to the way that we did in Phrygian. that's going to give you your Locrian mode. Okay, so that is the basic overview of the modes. That's the easiest way to start messing around with them, to handle them. So figure out which key you're in, and then just count the scale tones in your key to figure out which note has which tonic or which scale degree, and then that's going to tell you which corresponding mode that you have when you use that as your bass note. Okay, so then just use that chord in the bass, or play that chord, and then when you use this scale, it's going to come across as that particular mode. So that's what we're doing. Again, I want to mention my free course, Alternate Picking Mastery. If you want to synchronize your hands like a bass, yeah, you can sign up for that. It's free, like I said. And then, yeah, if you're like, I'm looking for a bit more of a hands-on approach, you want to apply for premium guitar coaching, you can do that as well. It helps if you're a really cool person, really respectful person, and you have a job. Yeah, that's pretty much the criteria. We have really awesome, positive people in that group, so I want to keep it that way. So I'm sure you can understand. Yeah, that's everything I got. Enjoy the rest of your day. Rock super hard. Bend your strings and party on Wayne.